Hello. I would like to share with all of you epiphany and an insight I had while I was in Kashmir Shaiva Ashram of Swami Lakshmanjoo. And it was an insight about good, bad, morality, and I don't know if we can call it morality, but I would like to express my deepest gratitude that I could be in such a wonderful place as Kashmir, and my heart and soul is with all my brothers and sisters in Kashmir, where now there is a sad war happening. So I would start with this absurdity, which I think is a culturally based germ, that good and bad exist as autonomous ontological entities. It's just myth, which comes mostly from Judeo-Christian traditions, but I think you can find it also in different belief systems. But I know that the Judeo-Christian system is very, very accurate, that there is some absolute good and absolute bad, and there is this war between good and bad, which in itself, if we look at it, it's kind of problematic and illusory, because we moved from that religious Judeo-Christian society to atheistic society, and we kind of remained hanging with those concepts of good and bad, but without God. So very, very absurd. So what comes into my mind, and it's also good to look at it from the context of current war between India and Pakistan, is Bhagavad Gita, right? Many of my Indian friends are calling for war because in Bhagavad Gita there is a part when Krishna is telling Arjuna to fight, because that's his duty, to fight this war, even if he doesn't want to fight against his cousins. On the other hand, other Indian friends have different interpretation and will interpret this part even pacifically. I would like to notice that it's very important to know that Joseph Goebbels, the architect of the concentration camps, was always wearing a Bhagavad Gita with him, and he used this kind of argumentation as a justification for the soldiers who were in the concentration camps in the context of eradicating many peoples and putting them to gas chambers. So from this perspective, it can seem that good and bad are illusions, or somehow it can be relative. There is a relativism in this, because if we go with these morals of duty, the duty itself is relative to the context we are in. What is your duty? Your duty is to fight or not to fight. So I think this is a little bit dangerous in a global scale to orient in this kind of relative way, and I think we should go for more absolutistic system of navigate the desirable outcome of our actions. As I mentioned, I think the concept of good and bad are already expired, but relativism for me is also not a solution. So I was thinking how to navigate the reality. So I came up with this concept, which I call spectrum of perception or awareness of consciousness. This concept is a concept which is inspired by Buddhism morals, and the moral compass here is, okay, how will I navigate the reality if good and bad doesn't exist? Well, what produces more or less suffering? Is something producing more suffering in the world or less suffering in the world? And I approach this from the perspective of scope of vision or perception. So I think there are different states of mind or states of consciousness which are perceiving reality in a different way. I differentiate between 4 of them, which you can see here. They are tunnel vision, fish eye, 360 vision, and fly's eye. Fly's eye is one which was introduced by my friend, and so I will be explaining all this. So these concepts are explaining the relationship between the self, which is the I, and the other. Tunnel vision is a very limited state of mind, because people only perceive the egotistical need and what is good for them. In this sense, people will only do whatever they consider is good for them. It's a state which emerges from states of consciousness like pain, anger, fear. These states of consciousness which are seated in big suffering. I would call these states of consciousness reduced states of consciousness, and the one I will mention after, expanded state of consciousness. So, or amplified states of consciousness. So these reduced states of consciousness, which I refuse to say lower, because I think there will be moral judgment in it implied, are the one which are related to very visceral fight and flight response. And people who are in the lower scales of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and the needs are not met, are in this kind of hyper-individualistic, egotistic survival mode, which from an adrenergic perspective, it's just looking for their own survival. So it would be like kill their enemy without considering the global ethical consequences and how much suffering that can create in a global context, right? So then, if we move in a spectrum to the other pole, there is a fish eye perspective, which is a broadened perspective where the relation between I and other is amplified. So the person can really see the broader context of their action. So this would be maybe here would apply maybe the golden rule: do to others what you want them to do to you. It's not some perfectly non-suffering way of being, but it's still reducing the suffering in a significant amount. And then we have the 360 vision, which is like kind of a whole circle in which the individual and the other is almost merged in a totality or unity. It would be like universal totality with everything. If the subject would perceive all the pain which exists in a reality as such, not only considering human but all living beings, this is like to maxim to be thrived to. It would be something like God consciousness or perfect stillness without any suffering or harm. This state of totality or 360 vision would come from states of consciousness which could come from higher emotions, which are compassion, understanding, equanimity, which are seated in low suffering states, and when the Maslow hierarchy of needs is well met in these people. So I would call this state of consciousness amplified states of consciousness, and there is a global understanding from this perspective. One can see all the consequences of their action, and for example would not want to kill their enemy because it sees the causal chain which led their enemy to do their harm as they thought. So they are maybe compassionate even with their enemy, because they essentially understand that there is no ontological difference between them and the enemy in a very basic and very abstract way. So I would put example. Tunnel vision would be: I am in a boat floating in the Amazon river, and I buy a can of beer because I want it for me. I just look at my egotistic needs, and then when I'm finished with it, I just throw the can in the river. Yeah, I'm in a tunnel vision, very survival mode. I was just thirsty. I just needed to maybe calm some trauma and something which the alcohol can do. The same situation from the fisheye perspective would be a guy is seeing me, we are having a conversation, he's kind of like very nice in the social perspective, he tells me he really loves Jesus Christ, and then he invites me for a beer, right? And I'm like, oh, thank you, that's so nice from you. After he finishes drinking his beer, he throws the can to the Amazon River. You know, his perspective was not only egotistic, he was seeing the more global scale, so he was doing a good act for me, very generous, altruistic, but not taking in the picture all suffering, the environmental suffering in this case, so he would throw the can into the river. 360 vision, global perspective, you are in a boat, you are understanding that throwing something in the river will hurt yourself, you will just invite someone for a water. You will not even drink beer. Just go for water and ideally get it from your cup, which is reusable. But this is coming from a certain well-being to have these considerations. There is one more perspective and one more view, which was introduced to me by a friend, and it's called fly's eye. And this is like a state of pure chaos, where here is the I and the other. Everything seems like other. So from this perspective, everything seems like other, and this is a complete alienation with the environment, complete confusion of the self, which can lead to moral paralysis. The agent, the I, will be without any action, will stay without drinking, because will not even be differentiated what is liquid, what is drinkable, what is not drinkable.